Hello, Internet. I'm Matt Haas. Hopefully everything is working. Let me know if there's any issues with the stream because the power went out last night. And that is never a good thing because, as you can tell, I've got a lot of stuff here. But the way I've done it is the computer is on a universal power supply, which is a big power strip with a battery in it, and then the battery kicks on to supply power. So the computer stayed up, but the way I do it is the monitors draw a lot of power, so these are not on the backup side of the power supply, so I have no monitor. But this little guy up here, this is a monitor. I don't think you can tell. See? Yeah, see? That monitor is on the power supply. So I was able to use this small little monitor to shut down the machine safely. Then they have to shut down the internet equipment, and then I took then the laptops stay on because laptops have batteries. Here's one thing I learned. The universal power supplies no longer have an annoying alarm that goes meep, meep, meep. They really chirp really loudly when you cut the power to them. The new versions don't have a loud, annoying sound, which I'm thankful for. Tech Troublemaker is here, says, good morning, Britta Aller. Britta's here as well. She says, good morning, everyone. Howdy ho, neighbor. I wonder how the Pioneers live streamed without power. You know what? That's a good question. But everything is fine. One new weird thing that's happening with the house is the fire detectors, smoke detectors. They're hardwired into the house. They all started making a screeching sound. I've never heard the screeching sound before. It's like they were trying to emit sound appropriately, but they weren't able to. The power was off. I don't know how that happened, but they were not happy. I was like, what is this sound? I thought it was the treadmill, and I thought, oh, maybe it's coming from downstairs. And I finally figured out there's this weird sound coming from the smoke detectors. Maybe it's time to get all new hardwired smoke detectors. I don't know what. I'm going to have to do some Googling. But needless to say, Sawblades can't spin when there's no power because all of my tools are power tools. And who works with hand tools? So I don't have anything to show you. I have nothing creative to say, hey, look, I built this, or hey, I did this. Puppies were fine. You know, it's all good. Floyd Fernandez is here. Someone learning new things about saw blades always makes me scared for people. You know, the thing about the injuries on woodworking equipment is it rarely happens when you're actually cutting a piece of wood, and often happens when you're just moving things around, or you know, you're usually very focused on the actual cut operation. But you know, it's like, oh, you pick up a piece of wood and you move it to the other side of the table saw, and here's a spinning blade, and your fingers touch. Like, that's typically what happens. Not, of course, people cut themselves while they're cutting the workpiece, but I'm just saying, like, that's what you got to look out for. One time I was on the router table, which is a spinning bit sticking up from a table to edge the side of a board. Like, if this was a board, you want to profile the board, you spin it through. Routers are very, very powerful. Nothing will stop that blade from spinning. You can smash a piece of metal into that blade and it's not going to stop. And I was doing an operation. I had a whole stack of boards I needed to do, and had my ear protection on, of course, and I was running the board, and then I would turn off the machine, put the board over on a table, and go back and then shove the sawdust past the blade into the fence where it had the hose that was extracted, because there was like sawdust. Not all the sawdust got sucked up. So I was doing this thing where I cut the board, turned it off, put the board down, picked up another board, turned it on, and did it. And I just, you get in this routine, and then something took my attention away. Or maybe I got someone came downstairs, was talking to me, and I broke the routine, and I went to push the sawdust, and the blade was still spinning. And I stopped myself like this far away from it, because that's what gets you. So it's not actually using that usually gets you. It's just I was in this routine of cutting and then cleaning up the dust and then going away. But cleaning up the dust with it off, I broke the routine, and then it wasn't off. And I couldn't tell because I had the ear, it just scary stuff. End of trading from Bali, Indonesia. Welcome. Also, smoke detectors are only good for 10 years. They go insane when they are too old. Well, maybe it's time to buy a new batch. Oh, interesting. Like an internal battery backup in the unit itself? Okay, I didn't know that. Oh, yeah, Roy took a channel takeover for Tallboy. Repeat cuts are the most dangerous operation. Yeah, it's crazy. There's a woodworker, Tom Spillane. Almost lost 2 fingers on the router table just a few months ago. I got lucky. Routers are the most, how do I say this? People think they're a lot safer than they're not. They're not. They are very, very dangerous. And, the spinning metal bit is usually only like the size of your thumb. So it doesn't look that dangerous. Because, if you're on a table saw, you got a 10-inch spinning blade. It looks ominous. Here you have a little blade the size of your thumb that's just spinning around, sticking up on a table. It's not that dangerous. Those things will pick you up and chew you. Anyway, they'll chew you up and spit you out. And they'll fling boards too. If you're on the left side of a router table and a board gets caught and you're putting it on the back side, which you should never do. Like if you make a mistake and do something wrong, it could send your workpiece as a spear 20 feet across your table. I've seen people who've had drywall like punching holes through the drywall because they're doing something wrong on their router table, and off goes the piece of wood and it busts through the wall. I know, David W. Ryan, that's scary. But listen, as a creative person, I have learned long ago that if I have an injury to my hand or my fingers, it would probably bankrupt me, because I use my hands to work. And so I'm very, very careful. I get comments on my woodworking channels like, I can't believe you're using breathing protection, hearing protection, and a full face shield when I'm using my woodworking equipment. And they're like, you haven't even called their attention to it. You just do it. I'm like, that's the way I roll. I mean, look right here. Look very closely. Do you see a scar right there? No, it's pristine. I was running a board. I was ripping a board on my table saw, and the knot of the board caught toward the back of the blade. Bottom line, a chunk of wood went right to my face. And if I'd have had goggles on, it would have went underneath the goggle because it was right there. But I had a full face shield, and that knot of wood fired at my face like a bullet and went off the face shield, completely untouched. I would have had a big gaping hole right there, because I take every precaution. I really do. The routers are the most underestimated tool. I had an operator using it handheld, plugged one in, and watched it take off on him. Yeah. I mean, if you just look at the router, I say, look at the motors that are attached to it. Like a hand drill, you got a little tiny motor like this, but a router, I mean, its motor is, it's huge. It's very, very powerful. And they make up like 3 amp. Oh my God, those things are crazy. Those things. Oh, he's talking about Roy's show. All right, well, I'll try and be creative this evening. That's all I can say. Oh, got my trending in sports mug. Yeah. That's not what I wanted. There we go. All right, folks. I'm going to leave it here. Give me a big old like. I got a hold of my new sponsor. Told them when I'm going to deliver my new video. They're happy about that. Just, kind of putting out the fires. It's so hard to type without your fingers. Yeah, for sure. I will. Don't worry about me. I'll be very safe as usual. All right. Love you all. Bye.